the attack on the minorities.
Mm-hmm.
One, on the minorities means they are being attacked, their places of worship being vandalized.
Mm-hmm.
Not only Hindu minority, the Shias, the Mazars, the liberal shrines, they have all been targeted by the religious extremists and the fanatics, which is very disturbing.
Welcome to the gist on Stat News Global. I'm Ramananda Sengupta. Our very, very special guest today is Mr. Shantanu Mukharji. He's a retired IPS officer and a security analyst who's been covering Bangladesh for the last 4 decades. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. It's a delight to have you with us.
Pleasure.
So, I was just thinking that it's been 4 months since the Yunus administration took over. Do you think things have changed for the better since then or for the worse for Bangladesh and for Indo-Bangladesh relations?
Frankly, it has gone for worse, as you would agree. As we notice in the press, we observe things happening globally or regionally. It's gone from worse. The second part of your question is bilaterally. I'll answer that later. First, how worse has it gone?
Right.
Number one, you see the law and order. Law and order situation has hit the rock bottom.
Okay.
The army had to be given magisterial powers a couple of months ago. You must have noticed
I remember,
this.
yes.
The police is almost dysfunctional after the demoralizing effects in the wake of the so-called uprising in July, August. They have become very ineffective, which has given rise to several clashes, student clashes, teachers clashes, industrial unrest everywhere. So the law and order remains paralyzed. So this is one. Number two, the attack on the minorities. One, on the minorities means they are being attacked, their places of worship being vandalized. Not only Hindu minority, the Shias, the Mazars, the liberal shrines, they have all been targeted by the religious extremists and the fanatics, which is very disturbing. So these two are main. Number three, then you see the economic decline, the remittances, etc. And number four, its own image in the international community is taking a beating. All combined together. So it has worsened.
I was just thinking, sir, that, despite that, they're saying elections is next year, end of next year.
Yes.
This is a long time away.
Yes.
What do they hope to achieve in that?
Well, I don't think they have any agenda or a roadmap about that in 2025 or 26. What are the do's and don'ts? I don't think the Yunus administration is working on that, or they have set an agenda.
Okay.
Because in the administration, among the advisors, I don't think there is any cohesion or coordination between various advisors. There are student bodies also. They are being represented. Somebody is saying what. So there is no coordination. So I don't think there is going to be any clear roadmap to what to achieve, as you are asking, by the end of the elections and all. The election rough idea has just been announced by the chief advisor.
That's right.
That this is it. Now let us see. There are several political players who are trying to hog the political space. What do they do? Then future course will be determined.
Because I was hearing, sir, that the BNP, I'm not sure whether Khaleeda Zia is still leading it in that sense, because she's become very, aged, I suppose, in some ways. But
She means Khaleeda Zia.
Khaleeda Zia.
Yes.
So I'm not sure who is actually running the BNP right now. I suppose technically she would be.
Well, if you see that in flesh and blood, that she is the BNP figure on ground now.
Right.
She was, till some time ago, was in frail health. But I noticed that she has regained some strength because several cases against her have now been dropped.
Right.
So she's emboldened by that. Number two, from remote, her son Tariq Rahman from London is calling the shots.
Okay.
This we cannot ignore. He has been issuing statements for the Bangladeshi people time and again at regular intervals in a very systematic manner, say for unity or for efforts to prevent any attempt by Hasina to come back to the political scene and to remain steadfastly united. So he is the one who is calling the shots from London, and Khalida Zia is on ground. And she, in case you noticed that she was talking to the student bodies, thanking them for the uprising in the cantonment. So that shows that perhaps that she has the military support, because issuing such statements or being photographed from within the four walls of cantonment is an indication. As analysts, we should not ignore that fact. This is important. And then, very recently, Mirza Fakhrul Alamgir, who is a BNP functionary, I think is the Secretary General, has returned from London.
Okay.
So I guess he's carrying some agenda, some way forward from Tariq Rahman, and he will implement them on ground. Then BNP has also been flexing its muscles on ground, and as it hosted a long march up to Akhoda border, and they mobilized 5,000 cars
Okay.
packed with BNP student wing bodies and the volunteers. They were stopped 1 kilometer away from the Tripura border. And they were protesting against India, against the alleged violence in Bangladesh consulate in Agartala. So they are trying to occupy the political space or the vacuum left behind in the aftermath of Hasina's exit. So BNP is the one who's trying to stay afloat in the political mainstream.
That's interesting, sir, because I also heard that they were very keen on early elections rather than, wait for a long time, because then that credibility goes. After a while, they'll have the same problem that Hasina faced,
Correct.
So are they still powerful enough to stop that? Because I'm trying to understand, sir, basically that who is really calling the shots? Who's behind Yusuf? I mean, Yusuf is not the person you can see from his. So who are the people behind this?
Yunus is definitely a figurehead.
Exactly.
There are external powers, well known, who have put him in place.
Right.
That is a well known fact. And the military is not in his control. None of the other advisors, whether it is the internal security advisor or the foreign office one Tawheed, anybody, they do not seem to be under his control. They are pursuing their own independent agendas.
Wow.
The religious fundamentalists are also not in control. That is how you see that the fanatics continue to attack the minorities. The desecration of the religious places of worship continue to happen. So he's ineffective, in other words.
Right.
He may be a good banker, but a very poor administrator. His governance have not proved anything worthwhile.
But sir, he doesn't have experience in governing anything. So how can you certainly expect
So
that?
one who may have put him in this place should know that a figurehead cannot run, particularly pulling out the country from the chaos that which is in now. So it's in thick soup, if I would say.
But sir, what about this thing about them sort of, trying to make up with the Pakistanis? Is that part of, the fundamentalist agenda here? Is Pakistan trying to do something there? Or
See, Pakistan has not reconciled to the fact that 53 years ago from now, it was dismembered and a new country came into being. It's
Right.
very difficult to reconcile. So it would, on its part, make efforts to see that Bangladesh continues to be in its camp.
Okay.
They have got an opportunity now to wean away Bangladesh from, I wouldn't say influence, from the proximity to India. They find this as a wonderful opportunity to fish in the troubled waters. That is what they are trying. Now, why? Very recently, about a month back, there was this 76th anniversary, death anniversary, of founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
Right.
It had never happened in independent Bangladesh that he was commemorated because he was against Bangladesh, he was against Bengali language, he wanted to impose Urdu, much to the opposition of the Bengalis.
Yes.
Still, he was remembered at a function. And Pakistani Deputy High Commissioner himself was present there. So there are trends. Having said this, Bengalis, as you know, emotional people. They recently observed their Victory Day. The Pakistani atrocities, perhaps in some quarters, are still fresh in their minds. So they would not immediately jump out to Pakistan. But Pakistan, as you say, is trying its best to see that Bangladesh remains, emotionally at least, aligned to them. At the same time, I must point out, you must have noticed, that there had been several concessions made by Muhammad Yunus administration with being given to Pakistan. Say the ships clearance, they coming to the docks. So we see a pattern of a kind of making up to Pakistan. Or in other words, by default, that whatever Sheikh Hasina had done to keep Pakistan away from interfering into Bangladesh internal affairs, that is now being diluted. That's where I like to put it.
That might be diluted, sir, but I was always wondering that, I went to Pakistan, to Bangladesh a long time ago. I think 2005 or 6 was the SARC summit when BNP was in power. But there was a gentleman there who was a freedom fighter, Mukti Baini gentleman. And he said, look, Bangladesh is not about a religious thing. We fought for language. That was our main problem. We don't wear our religion on our sleeve. We don't, encourage fundamentalists. And as long as we are there, that's not going to happen. Do you think their influence has waned now, or do you think that thing is still there?
I wouldn't say it is completely on the wane because we have to watch it. But the trend has begun when those elements were not happy with Hasina or the Awami League are by implication trying to come close to Pakistan or the pro-Pakistani lobbies that no, they try to forget things because they find perhaps that Pakistan is a better friend than India because they are becoming anti-Indian or they're becoming anti-Hasina.
But sir, linguistically, culturally, they are still Bengalis.
That's very right. But who? Now you see on the 14th of December, they observe the Genocide Day.
Right.
So many Bengali intellectuals were killed in a systematic manner by the Pakistani occupation forces.
Right.
In the Bhasha Andolan,
Right.
when they tried to impose Bengali as their language, they were firing by the Pakistani forces and many Bengalis died. They attained martyrdom. But public memory is short-lived.
Oh, that it is.
Geopolitically, if they find it's now a politics of convenience. Now, who thought that one day Sheikh Hasina would be ousted and other forces come? So all the forces are at play. So what happens, we have to watch closely and see what happens.
I understand that, sir. But then are we again sort of getting ready to have a hostile Bangladesh would mean that, they would give sanctuary to anti-India elements and terrorists and all those people in the Northeast?
Well, India-Bangladesh relations as we speak, is not at its best. This you must know. The ire by the general people was never that vehement as it is today. The people at large, most of them,
Anti-India feeling yourself.
anti-India feeling. Then the media. You see, the most widely read newspapers, say Daily Star, Prothom Alo, Bengali, they were well-read newspapers with high amount of credibility. Now, they have unfortunately exceeded all ethical aspects of journalism. They are hitting out at Indian media. But Indian media, you must know, I'm not saying as an Indian, as an independent view, that had been within its limits in use of parliamentary language, not attacking the Bangladeshi press. They are more reporting on the hard realities of what is happening in Bangladesh.
Right.
But they are taking on media absolutely without any reason, without any rationale. So they are all hitting out that. So there's considerable amount of anti-India rhetoric, which is disturbing.
But sir, I mean, from what I understood, even like I said, when I last went there for the SAC summit, I sensed that there was still a undercurrent of hostility towards India even then. People used to say that, oh, you know, if we had stayed with Pakistan, we'd have been a nuclear power, then India couldn't have bullied us, and things like that. So is that a sort of a regular thing there?
You see, India being big in size, geographical size, big in population, big in sort of more rich in culture and everything, prosperity, economic powerhouse and everything, would always give a sense of inferiority complex to them. That is not India's fault. That is their problem. Some people would always be anti, whether they are watching a cricket match or a football match. You see last year, India-Australia match, when India was defeated, one section celebrated India's defeated.
True.
They said, this is our Eid. This is unthinkable. So that has always happened. That will continue to happen irrespective. But this change in the recent months, last 4 months you began your conversation with, that has definitely put the Indo-Bangladesh relations at a new low. That we must accept that is what is happening. Though there are efforts, huge efforts from the Indian side to salvage the relationship. You see that the Indian Foreign Secretary paid a visit on the 9th. That was Indian initiative, diplomatic initiative. On the Victory Day, the Indian Foreign External Affairs Minister, he congratulated the Bangladesh side. They're all kind of things. But the media needs to be sort of reined in either by the government or they themselves responsible. They're not expected of these leading newspapers to come out irresponsibly and unethically targeting the Indians or the media on everything. Instead of working to repair the relationship, they're doing more harm. That is my reading.
That's true, sir. But, you know, let's talk about the geographical sort of, compulsions that Bangladeshis face. They really can't do without Indian, I mean, how will I say it, access, for want of a better word. You know, I was told a long time ago that, for instance, if we were to just actually block the transfer of cattle, there would probably be social unrest in Bangladesh because beef is their common thing, and they would be, which is why apparently the government was, I mean, that's the excuse I heard, that, you know, we're letting it happen because we don't want unrest out there. So don't they realize that because of this 4,000-kilometer border that they have nowhere else to go?
See, now the reasoning is not happening within the Bangladeshis. It is with the Bangladesh polity reasoning is not happening. With Bangladesh administration, it is not happening. With the military, it is not happening. With media, it is not happening. There's no reasoning. They are under an emotive current. They have still to come out and settle down from the regime change. They're still settling down.
Okay.
See, so maybe When time comes, when they feel the economic crunch, by what you are giving illustrations to, the supplies of essential commodities, cattle or whatever, or they have been coming in large numbers for the treatment,
Exactly.
visas, or to Ajmer Sharif, the students coming to pursue their studies, when they feel that it is not happening, maybe things could change. India is doing its best that it's just watching with patience whatever is happening.
So there is this also thing that, what we did with the Maldives, for instance, where instead of a knee-jerk reaction, we went and said, don't worry, we are going to, it doesn't matter if you come out to India, come to power on an anti-India platform, we are going to increase aid, we are going to, and that actually worked. But do you think that policy will work with Bangladesh, given the border that we have?
So that is what is happening. There's utmost amount of restraint being exercised on the borders by our border guarding forces. There had not been any provocating statements from the Indian side, from the political side.
A lot of them are playing up the death of one girl on the border who was shot by some...
So that is what is being played up by the Bangladesh media.
Right.
That is what I say, that they are bereft of facts. They are much exaggerated because they have been very provocative. So maybe in time they will run out of steam. So will cool down, and when they start seeing reasoning, then they calm down. That is what I expect as a Bangladesh watcher.
Okay. Our logic was that, we will continue having diplomatic relations. We won't let one thing upset our...
But diplomatic relations are happening. We are sort of not provoking them. You gave the example of Maldives. So India has never said that it will stop aid, it will stop its infrastructural projects or communication lines, whatever India has given. It is Bangladesh is trying to say, the BNP is putting pressure that reverse all the deals which were undertaken during the Hasina regime. They are saying, we are not saying. We are not there to sever the ties, the deals, whatever we had inked. We want to. We never want Bangladesh to suffer or anything, certainly not. India doesn't want that. It is there because it is only 4 months and they are unable to come out. They are still grappling to settle down. The administration is still, it is on paper, it is on place, but it hasn't really been functioning effectively, I would say. Like I gave examples, law and order or minorities, anything. It's a very messy situation.
I read somewhere that, they're actually comparing the way the Bangladeshi thing unfolded with the events in Syria. Do you think that's a valid comparison?
Well, that's a different thing, Bangladesh and Syria. If you mean that which led to Hasina's exit, that was compared to Syria.
No, I think what they're talking about is that the sudden change in events and the sudden...
There is certain, the Arab Spring took place in 2011-12. So it is not really, it can be compared to. These are happenings elsewhere. Sri Lanka had a regime change like this.
Right.
So you can, if you want, you can compare academically, but not really. It's a different case altogether. But here, the most disturbing thing also, not you have said, is the role of the judiciary also. Now, we read that Babar, their home minister, who was charged earlier and a confirmed accused in arms smuggling case, truckload of arms, has been acquitted. Khalida Zia had been acquitted. Tariq Rahman was involved in so many criminal offences, been acquitted. So now it is something where it's worse than a regular established government. They are calling the shots. Then how come suddenly you are undergoing conviction and you are released? And in the initial days of the regime change,
Right.
Post August 5 this year, you see so many prisoners from the jail escaped and they are still at large.
Escaped or were they pardoned?
Whatever, no, pardon, no. Pardon is the word when we use when a court takes cognizance. Here, they were unlocked and they let off. There was no judicial process. It was a free for all. These are all contributing to the decline in law and order and sort of rise and a state of flux and uncertainty.
And what about the Army League, sir? Is it dead in the water, or are there still elements there which can do something?
So, no, I wouldn't say it is dead in the water, but it is definitely, in the absence of any support, it is not as strong as it was till August 5, definitely, because the other forces have taken over. It's not that. Only the elections, if they are held free and fair, then will determine the real strength of Awami League, how better they fare.
Because it was a grassroots party.
Definitely grassroots party. Grassroots party.
Okay, sir. So finally, sir, I mean, I know it's hard to say what's going to happen, but what would be your expectations and what should India's position be? Should it continue being, reasonable and, not react in a knee-jerk manner, or should it?
Well, India is doing as of now. I think it should continue that. It should wait and watch. It sent its emissary, like I said, the Foreign Secretary went, the External Affairs Minister is in touch. We are not giving any provocative statements. The due amount of restraint is being exercised on every segment of Indian system. Our media has been behaving, but it's a huge, very vibrant media in India.
Right.
So if the minorities are being attacked, cutting across party lines, they are all reacting. Because anywhere, if this operation takes place, so these are there. That will continue, or that should continue to put pressure on the government. Like our Prime Minister rang up his counterpart, the chief advisor in Dhaka, asked him to stop atrocities against the Hindu minorities.
Right.
So we are doing that. So we are doing well within the limits, using decent language and trying to see. And this should continue.
But, I was hearing that they are upset because we have apparently raised visa fees and just cut visa.
Well, that is visa fee. They can, some excuse or the other will always be there. Raising of the visa fee is a very relative term. What is not so high by the Indian standards, they might feel that they might, if given a chance, they'll say, you give us free visas. We like to come, free treatment, everything. But a sovereign government has to exercise its own agenda, its own scheme of things.
So you're saying basically that we should wait and watch and things could improve.
Yeah, and wait and watch, and depending on the situation, if it is getting out of control or there is something which impinges on the security of the country, or they give harbor to our insurgents, like what BNP-led government used to give, then perhaps India should react in a more proactive manner. That will depend on the situation. Unprovoked, India is not doing it, and it is in its wisdom and judgment that it is not doing that.
You were talking about Pakistan being allowed shipping rights and berthing rights. There were reports that a lot of weapons were also being transferred to Bangladesh.
Yeah, but as their weapons are supplied to Bangladesh, Pakistan was responsible earlier for circulation of fake Indian currency notes. Pakistan High Commission in Dhaka into India, trying to cripple the Indian economy. Those activities, subterfuge activities or coercive activities, they may continue, but the Indian sort of counterintelligence forces or counter-terror forces I'm sure they're alert on that, to contain that, to stem that. Certainly that, will not allow.
On that note, I think we'll have to close this particular interview. Thank you so much, sir, for, I think you've given us a very clear kind of a perspective on what's happening there. And I look forward to having you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. Thank you.
That was Shantanu Mukharji, a veteran watcher of Bangladesh who has watched Bangladesh for more than 4 decades now, giving us his perspective, and a very candid one, on the situation there and what India should do. I do hope you enjoyed this particular edition of The Gist, and I look forward to having you with us again. Till then, this is Ramananda Sengupta signing out.